As a kid, I used to watch you with my father. The Great Ghost was my hero.
So it wasn't all for nothing.
Welcome back. This is Become a Bat, a chronological look at Batman through the ages. I'm your host, Tom.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be talking about a couple stories of Batman. Batman number 9, The White Whale, and a very, very significant episode. I always call them episodes. Issue of Detective Comics, The Crimes of Two-Face, which I think we're going to, like, 90% of this podcast is going to be about.
I got a weird connection right here. You ready for it?
Okay.
Detective Comics number 66, The Crimes of Two-Face.
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking about Kevin Conroy dying at the age of 66. Isn't that weird?
That is, well, that's just a coincidence. That's just a coincidence.
It is a coincidence, but we're recording it today, and it literally just happened.
Well, so yeah, we should definitely address Kevin Conroy's passing at 66. That's a huge loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, to many of us, he's definitely the voice of Batman.
Yeah, it's funny because you texted me first about it, and I was like, "Holy crap, what?" Because I had no idea. Because obviously I was like working all morning.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got texts from 3 other people about it within like a half an hour.
Yeah. It's and it just came out of nowhere. Like I know he did. Yeah, you said earlier he kind of looked gaunt in like the last like photos we've seen of him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not expected. It seems like he kept it private.
Yeah, he definitely did. He was still doing appearances and he was still doing voice work.
Yeah.
And it sounded exactly the same. You wouldn't have been able to tell.
Yeah, he was keeping strong till the end. Yeah, definitely. And it's a shame because like Twitter is imploding right now.
Yeah.
And with the whole verification thing and nobody knows what's like a real tweet and what isn't. The tweet was like broken by the Peter Mayhew Foundation.
Oh, yeah?
So there was like a small period of time where it was like, oh, this could be a hoax. So I was holding out for a hoax, but you know, like Paul Dini tweeted out like a photo of a Batman, you know, in the like the moonlight or something. I was like, oh, yep, this is definitely real.
Man.
Yeah.
That makes me like I'm devastated because he's my Batman, and he probably always will be. I don't see anybody eclipsing him as a better version of that character ever.
Yeah, and it's going to be especially tough for whoever takes the role on the new show they're doing.
Well, you know who's going to take it? Probably Troy Baker.
I don't know. I think they'll go for somebody else.
Maybe. I mean, that's the thing. I wonder because Troy Baker is like a really good Kevin Conroy impersonator and a good Mark Hamill impersonator. And he could do both back to back and nobody would even know. But I wonder if they're going to retire that version of Batman's voice because of Kevin Conroy passing. Or
I think so. I don't want to talk about like who's going to take him over right now. It's a little too soon for that.
No, but they're dealing with that Cape Crusader show, so I wonder where it's going to go.
Let's see. So, but yeah, that's Kevin Conroy. Rest in peace. I don't think there's more we can say. I never got to meet him, so
I've seen him in person. I never actually got his autograph or anything. But
lucky. Well, still cool. All right. Well, time for the stories of the day. So the first one we're doing is Batman number 9, story 2, The White Whale.
Yes.
This was kind of I think this is one of the weirder episodes weirder stories we've done.
Yeah, it's not the weirdest. The weirdest would definitely be like the fairy tale storybook one.
Yeah,
I think. So
that one is just kind of like
because it's a dream.
It was a dream, but it's kind of like okay, it's just like a silly, Batman comic or whatever. I mean, it's kind of unusual for Batman, but this one just kind of like tonally fills off.
Yeah, this did remind me of a little bit of a previous one that we read with Hook Morgan.
Yeah,
but it takes the concept a little farther. I thought it was going to go for the straight up Moby Dick adaptation.
I did too. Yeah,
it kind of does, but then there's like the twist.
Yeah, what a twist it is.
Yeah, weirdly, I didn't see it coming at all.
Yeah, I was just kind of like thinking because the splash page, which we'll get into, like shows a white whale, and we're like, okay, they're gonna go like pretty straight faced about this one.
They do have that scene.
Which we'll get into that too, which is like I think is like what makes it feel tonally weird.
I agree.
Yeah. So, without much further ado,
All right, I'll describe the splash page before I get into this little blurb here, and then
Yeah.
you'll do the synopsis here. So, yeah, it's a interesting splash page. I can't tell who that other guy is on the boat with them, but I'm assuming that it's Captain Burley. It's just,
no, that he's like way too skinny and like
but like, why would he
wearing
be,
yellow.
Why would he be the only other guy on the boat?
I think it's supposed to be just like a shipmate or something.
Maybe. Either way, it's Batman and Robin. Robin's like trying really hard to like steer this boat while this giant white whale is like crashing through the water and its tail's like flipping up in the air. And then Batman's hurling a harpoon at the thing and it's sticking into it. And you can tell there's like blood coming out of the whale, but they've colored the blood white.
Yeah, and not to get crass, but this is like I just realized this like right here, and then on our other story, both feature Robin grasping a phallic object with two hands and pulling back wildly.
There's a panel that I didn't include in this one, but I wanted to so bad because it's kind of hilarious when you look at Batman through that lens. I'll show you later.
Okay.
I should have just included it because it's funny, but
Which was the panel?
I'll tell you. Here, let me pull it up. It's where's my photo gallery here? I screenshotted it because I was like, this is good. It's Robin going, an attack from the rear. Have to stop it.
Oh yeah.
Anyways. All right, so onto this blurb. Here is a tale of those giant denizens of the deep, those battleships of nature, whales. Of one mammoth whale in particular, a titanic 10-ton monster that plunges ships into Davy Jones' locker and scours the ocean in its hunt for 100 Jonahs. I thought that was odd. In a smashing drama of men against the sea, of brutality and fear, the dynamic duo, the Batman and Robin, take harpoon in hand to trap the terror of the seas, the white whale. Boy, it's time now to begin our tale for There She Blows. That's so ridiculous.
100 Jonah and the whale.
Yeah, I know. I figured it
Yeah.
out, but I was like,
It's it's kind of like mixing up like
yeah,
the whale stories.
yeah, exactly. I was like,
Yeah.
100 Jonahs. I think they get the wrong reference there.
Yeah. All right. So here's the synopsis. The Seven Seas Insurance Group has put a $10,000 bounty on a white whale terrorizing ships out in Gotham Harbor. Bruce Wayne looks bored out of his mind while attending a shareholder meeting at Seven Seas. The white whale has destroyed 3 ships. Captain Burley interrupts the meeting and demands them to double the bounty, for which he is determined to claim. Mr. Radney, secretary of the insurance company, asks Bruce what he thinks of Burley, which gets Bruce's detective instincts in gear. That night, Bruce and Dick put on harbor outfits and visit the pier. Bruce gets knocked out and shanghaied into Burley's ship. Dick secretly stows on board. The ship goes out to sea, and Captain Burley wastes no time showing his kidnapped crew that he's the one in charge with a pair of brass knuckles. Some time passes, and Burley decides to make an example of one rebelling worker by tying him up and whipping him with a cat of 9 tails. But before he gets the first whip crack in, Batman jumps down and stops him. A big fight ensues between Batman, Robin, and Burley's crew, and it ends when they spot the spout of a whale in the distance. Burley pulls out a gun and forces Batman and Robin to take him out on a rowboat to get closer to the whale. They row out, and Burley forces Batman to jump on and slay the whale. Batman brings a spear down and kills the creature. Burley's crew strips the corpse of its blubber and meat. They get back on board, and Batman sucker punches Burley, causing them to resume their fight from earlier. That's when they feel the boat make a sudden crash. It's the white whale. Burley's fear that Burley's crew fear the whale, and they do not want to fight it. So they mutiny. They force Batman, Robin, and Burley onto a rowboat and confront the whale themselves. They swim near when suddenly a hatch opens on the whale and a machine gun comes out of the hole. It begins shooting, so the 3 of them jump out of the way and climb inside of the whale via another hatch. Inside is Mr. Radney, holding them up with a gun. Radney had created a submarine made to look like a white whale, and he reveals that he's been collaborating with boat owners to sink their boats for the insurance money. Suddenly, a loud explosion occurs and the submarine begins to sink. Batman and Robin try to find a way out, but the only exit is sealed. Radby, his name is Radby. I like at first I thought it was Radney. I just forgot to like correct it. Radby. Puts on a helmet and says he's going to get away. That's when Burley shoots the helmet and Radby shoots back, and both of them die.
I love that scene.
Yeah, that one's like probably the highlight of this story. Batman realizes that their best bet is to escape through the torpedo tubes. Batman knocks out Robin and shoots him to the surface. He gets in and shoots himself up, not knowing if he'll survive or not. They both make it to the surface and are rescued by the Coast Guard, who reveal that they shot the submarine. The end.
Why do I feel like the amount of pressure it would take to fire a torpedo would like crush Robin's tiny little body?
Yeah, not to mention the bends.
Yeah, and the fact that they're in a submarine. Yeah, just like a lot of issues there, but I'll forgive it.
I mean, it's a simple story.
I know.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of the more bizarre ones we've done. And like we've expressed like we don't care like Batman kills people.
Yeah,
like it's fine. You know, there are usually circumstances behind it. He's not just out there like executing folks. But I didn't like seeing him kill the whale.
No, and like like part of me because when we read these comics, we have to read them through the lens of somebody who was a kid in this era.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid in this era, I could totally forgive it because you grow up reading like Moby Dick and you're familiar with like Bible stories and stuff, and whales are just villains. Like there's really not anything to do with like environmentalism or like like save the whales yet. That didn't really exist.
Yeah, this was before we became more conscious of that.
Yeah, and I think they're doing it more so to show how powerful Batman is. He single-handedly kills the whale by himself. Like he just throws the harpoon and then jumps on him like just like
Yeah. I mean, regardless of what he's actually killing, it's Batman doing this like big feat of strength.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is showing how strong Batman is.
It is drawn nicely. So
yeah, this whole issue is drawn really nicely.
Yeah. There's effort put into this one.
Yeah.
Radby's plan is kind of very, very expensive, and it doesn't make sense.
He's got to be rich. He's like he works for the insurance company. He's got to be rich.
He's definitely got money, but I feel like making commissioning a submarine to be built to look like a white whale would cost more than he's getting from like his scheme.
Is it any different than building a car that looks like a bat and a helicopter and a plane that look like a bat?
I think it is, just because it has to go underwater, and that is like, you have to deal with a lot more, a lot more to deal with there.
Yeah, I mean, Batman's car is already capable of going underwater. Remember, or his plane can like.
Yeah, to a degree.
Yeah, there's a little bit of science fiction involved in these early stories.
Yeah,
very little, but there is some.
Yeah. Did you notice that Radby was kind of also like they kind of drew him to look like a World War One general type guy?
Yeah,
yeah,
I did. Maybe that's why the whole submarine thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
undercover. Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me most in this is how brutal Captain Burley is.
Mm-hmm.
I like that his name is Burley too because he's a burly guy.
Yeah.
I like those obvious name choices.
Like I couldn't tell if it was trying to make him be like sympathetic near the end.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm thinking more that it's like he's like fuck. It's more like fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know because he wanted to kill the whale.
Yeah.
Because he wanted that challenge,
Mm-hmm.
to like prove himself to himself.
Yeah.
And he wanted the money, obviously.
Yeah, he wanted the money.
But he found out it's all a sham.
Yeah, and like, but I think it would be one thing if he was doing it for the money but just like also prove how like badass he is.
Yeah.
But he's kidnapping people.
Well, obviously he's not a good guy.
No.
He kidnaps people. He whips the shit out of them. He straps them to the mast and whips the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And then he like hits them in the face with brass knuckles. He's got 2 sets of brass knuckles.
Yeah.
And he holds people at gunpoint. He's a total sadist.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely deserved to get mutinied at the end there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if his crew got out alive or they got shot down too.
I don't know.
Because there definitely would have been some innocent folks there.
Yeah.
Do you think he recognized Bruce Wayne?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean,
he was like undercover in disguise and stuff anyways.
He was, but I'm thinking he probably just didn't anyway because like when he busted into the insurance office.
Yeah.
Like he was just like so focused on telling him like I'm the best, I'm gonna do this, double the money. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't even paying attention to who's there.
No, I don't think so.
So that wasn't even an issue.
I did really enjoy their fight, and it made me want to see Hook Morgan fight Captain Burley.
Yeah.
Pirate versus pirate.
That was such a good panel at the end there, with the shootout.
Yeah.
So let's get into those panels.
Okay, well, I didn't really pick many panels for this.
Yeah, there's not too many. There's like some good moments, but not like a big, like every page is gold.
Yeah, there's like one or two good Batman moments, and one is questionable. Most of it focuses on Captain Burley, at least from my end. So I picked this 3-part panel because I just think it's like dark, and also it's drawn really well. It reminds me not of something that Bob Kane would draw, but something that like Joe Kubert would draw. Joe Kubert was like a master of like shadows and mist and like those fine lines. He was more of like an illustrator than a comic book artist. But it's Bruce Wayne like in his disguise as like a seaman, like walking towards the boat and like or walking on the dock when it's like all dark and foggy and misty.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, "Got a match, bud?" And so he's like, "Of course I have a match. I don't know why he would have matches, but he goes to reach for a match, and the dude just whacks him in the back of the head, and then they like throw him on the ship with all the others. So that's when we first learned that everyone's being kidnapped.
Yeah, they got a lot of good usage out of the Gotham Harbor back in these days.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They use it a lot in the Adam West show too.
They did, yeah. Give it that like Popeye, like turn the century feel.
And then just the one with Captain Burley decking 2 dudes in the face with the brass knuckles. Right after, I didn't get the first part of the panel because the way that it's like laid out is kind of weird. But right after, they're just like, "I need to go home to my family. I need to pay my bills." He's like, "Shut up!" And then he just punches them in the face. Like he's just kidnapping anybody. He doesn't care who they are.
No. So I definitely put in this like little 3-panel sequence because it was hilarious. It's where Robin, he slips on a random bar of soap on the deck, and the soap just like goes right into Captain Burley's mouth.
Yeah,
like a bullet shoots right in there.
That happens right after that panel that I didn't put in, where he's like, "Uh-oh, an attack from behind."
Yeah,
and then because he's like trying to stop Batman from being attacked from behind, but the framing of it's really weird. And then he steps on the soap right after that.
Yeah, it looks like when I saw the first 2 panels, I thought, "Oh, Robin's gonna eat shit," but like it worked to his favor.
Do you notice that they finally started drawing his boots better? They no longer are just like flat. They're not just like tiny, tiny little pixie boots, but they actually go above his ankle now.
Also, look at the panel of Captain Burley's profile there with the soap.
Yeah,
and then look above at the one where he's decking the 2 dudes.
Yeah.
Do you notice any inconsistencies?
Yeah, you mean like his collar?
His eye patch.
Oh, well, they do that a lot in these, like because they reverse panels and stuff. But also, yeah, his turtleneck collar shrinks and grows a lot depending on how they're drawing him.
Yeah, that too. So the next one after that is Batman, Robin, and Burley on the little boat, the rowboat going towards the White Whale, quote unquote. Which looks like we both picked it.
Yeah,
that's a nice little like shot.
Why'd you pick it? I know why I picked it.
Well, it just looks epic. Like Batman and Robin on a rowboat, and they're going like the clouds in the background.
I picked it for 2 reasons. It is epic, but I always like when Batman and Robin are standing and staring at something, and Batman's got his hand over Robin's shoulder, like, "Brace yourself, son." And then also look at Burley in the background. He's freaking shaking.
Yeah, he's like
he's so tough, but he's like, "Oh."
Yeah, now that he doesn't have like a whole boat and a crew behind him to.
I mean, he's got Batman and Robin in front of him. Yeah. Batman's capable of killing a whale by himself.
Yep.
But I guess Burley doesn't know that.
Nope.
Or maybe he's just shaken from the fight they just had.
I think it's a little bit of that, and just also like I think he's just like he's defenseless.
Yeah.
Like okay, I'm on a rowboat, and this thing has killed like steel boats, but they make a point of how like this thing's killed like all sorts of boats, or torn them down or whatever.
That panel that comes right after it really does kind of like set up the whole like scale of the whale too. Yeah,
when
gigantic.
He kills the other whale. Yeah, that is like I like the panel itself, but like the subject matter is like, oh man, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Yep, he killed a whale.
Yeah, of course I picked that panel. It's a really awesome panel of him like standing on there, and he's got the harpoon in his hand. He's about to like shove it down into the whale. It's very heroic looking. I like the way his cape is drawn, like flapping up into the wind.
Yeah,
it seems very dangerous, especially considering how big we know that whale is. I think the tail would be a lot bigger than that.
Probably.
But it says he jumps fearlessly to the vast, glistening back of the leaping whale.
And then after that is the awesome little thing of Mr. Radby wearing the helmet, and then
it's a cool ass helmet.
Yeah, and then I want to call it a heroic moment, but he's only doing it as a fuck you to both like everyone because they're all gonna die.
I find it darkly comedic.
Yeah, it's definitely darkly comedic. So the second panel is where Burley shoots Radby's like helmet, basically ensuring that even if it didn't kill him, like he will suffocate, so the helmet is useless.
I like to think that he shot him through the glass right in the face.
Yeah,
Although he says, "I'm taking that diving helmet," like you think he wants it for himself, right?
yeah,
But if you shoot him through the glass in the face, you're not going to be able to use the helmet to survive.
yeah. I think he just like went on instinct and fuck,
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Actually, he probably might have been aiming for the chest, but he got shot first.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And
And
then
then he reeled back and hit him in the.
That might be it.
It's
Yeah.
hilarious because like now you're gonna die, you're gonna bleed out, and that guy's not going to be able to use the helmet to survive underwater. If anything, he's gonna suffocate in his own face blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And
good
then
stuff.
the last is where we chose a sequence of Batman knocking, like he sucker punches Robin.
I know
He's done this before in another episode.
he always does it to save him.
Yeah.
He's like, shh,
Yep.
uppercuts him in the jaw.
And then he like uses all his strength to open up the torpedo tube.
Yeah,
And then it's just silly that Robin's like he's basically a human torpedo shooting up
it's a good visual.
the
I like it.
surface. Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool.
His cape definitely would not be doing that though. It would be like just probably ripped off
Mhm.
or just like tight to his body.
This is another story where kind of like the last one we did with I think it was Batman or Detective, whichever one it was. The Four Fates,
Mm-hmm.
where Batman and Robin didn't save the day.
They're just along for the ride.
They're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
This would have played out the same because it was the Coast Guard who blew up the hole in the ship
Yeah.
and the sub, so they technically saved the day. Yeah, Batman and Robin were just there and didn't really save anybody, but
Right. Batman and Robin, citizens at large.
yep. So we are going to take a quick break. Man, I gotta remember to do this mid-roll better. So we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna get into the Two-Face story, which I think is where the real action is at.
It's definitely good.
Yeah. The Crimes of Two-Face.
It's a good name.
Yeah, and I'm really shocked at just how much of it was like there from the get-go.
Yeah, it's all pretty much intact.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the crimes of Two-Face also denotes more than one crime. At
Yeah.
least two. So
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about it, and with a lot of these, just kind of thinking about like how a lot of the origin stories, with the villains and the other characters, they retain either they get it right out of the bat or just like bits and pieces, and then they add it and we kind of collectively figure it out, or
it morphs into what it's known to be now.
yeah, somebody makes one story that kind of defines it. Like Robin is basically his origin is basically how it is, through the ages. Like it was one and done, and they got it. They nailed it the first time. Penguin is one that they play around with a lot.
Yeah, they
Like-
reinvent him a couple times.
Yeah, we haven't got a Penguin origin. He just shows up, so that I'm not counting that as an origin.
Same with the Joker. He just shows up, but they
Yeah.
show up fully formed, exactly how you would expect them
Right.
to be.
Right. Professor Crane, the Scarecrow,
It's pretty close.
is close, but there's like definitely a lot that they tweak and mess around with. Like they definitely don't, like the modern interpretations don't really make him out to be like the bookworm he is
Right.
in that one.
He's a little more of a psychopath.
Yeah. Two-Face is spot on.
Yeah, they
Like-
got him totally right. The only thing that I think is not like in this that is like expanded upon later. I mean, it's in here. It's just not expanded upon. Is his friendship with Batman?
Yeah. Like there's a little bit of it here. There's definitely no friendship with Bruce Wayne.
Right. It's Batman instead,
It's Batman, which
which makes sense.
it makes sense for the court, but as far as it definitely they definitely seem to make it more like and like I'm thinking Long Halloween. Long Halloween's the one I'm like more like thinking of.
They definitely like the whole Sal Maroni thing and the
Mhm.
fact that he's like taking a gangster down. Like they got all of that right away.
Yeah.
It really makes me wish that they had Two-Face in the '60s show.
Yeah.
because they could have done it exactly like this.
They did. I haven't seen either of the animated movies that they did for that. Like a few.
They did it. They did him justice for sure.
Yeah, they got William Shatner to do
He's
Two-Face,
fucking perfect.
which it definitely seems like if they cast him back then, yeah, that would have been perfect casting.
Yeah, Shatner's like really capable of like dialing up the insanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously, if you've seen some of the Star Trek movies, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He's really good at overacting.
Yeah. So let's get into the cover. Oh, I forgot to put the cover up here.
Let me do the introduction here.
Okay.
Detective Comics number 66, The Crimes of Two-Face, June 1942, art by Bob Kane, Jerry Robinson, and George Russos, written by Bill Finger.
Yeah, let me get the cover up here. The cover was kind of the least notable thing about this, I would say.
It's all right, but it definitely doesn't shout new villain, right? Because we
no.
talked about it before, like how they're trying to hide it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like it's kind of like a little mystery of what he's gonna look like. He's a guy with two faces. I don't think they knew. Do you think they knew that they had something big on their hands with this one?
I think they did because they waited till 66 to cast a villain that's all about duality and double numbers and stuff. I think they knew. Also, like Batman himself is an amalgamation or whatever of like different characters from history, and Two-Face is definitely a play on a historically like well received character in a novel. I can't talk today.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's even reading the book, and they mention it multiple times. So I think they knew.
All right, so the cover of this one, it's kind of off. Yeah, it's kind of like not one of the best covers.
I like it, but it's laid out weird.
Yeah. So there's Batman. He is walking on a tightrope. One end is connected to a window of a building. The other end is connected to the center of a clock, like a clock face, like a clock tower.
Mm-hmm.
And Robin is tied up on one of the clock, like the big hand. What time is it? It's 9. It's just past 9, like in between like 9:02, 9:03.
Probably 9:02.
Yeah, it's close to 9:05, but basically, and then on a building perpendicular to the clock face, a little weird angle, is a gangster shooting at Batman. Batman's just kind of like looking at the gunshot, but like Batman, like something about the proportions or the way he's walking on this looks really odd. Yeah, and
it's the perspective. It's a weird angle.
Yeah, and Robin himself, he kind of looks like they drew him a little bit older.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's supposed to be like 8 or 9 over usually.
I think because this is a different cover artist. It's not.
Yeah.
This like reminds me of like the covers from some of the other issues where we thought they were slightly off.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a ghost artist.
It probably is. I don't see any who did the cover.
It says right there.
Batman.
Jerry Robinson, George Russos.
Well, they did the internals. Oh, cover art. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the normal ones, which kind of surprising that they did all this just because like the last couple times where we got like something big introduced in the Batman canon, it was by other writers and artists.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like the main team we've had the whole time.
Well, the other covers that look kind of off, I think we determined they were George Russo's covers. They're a little more cartoony looking. The perspective is a little off, and like the proportions are a little off. So that makes sense.
Yep. All right, and then we have the splash page, which
it's excellent.
It is excellent. It's like spooky.
It's very 1930s monster movie.
Yeah. It's Harvey Kent with a K. He's sitting there reading Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and by Robert Louis Stevenson.
Mm-hmm.
He's reading it by candlelight. So, and he's looking behind him because Batman and Robin are like about to walk in. Everybody looks surprised to see each other.
Yeah.
And half of Harvey's face is obscured by his collar and the lighting. Though one hand is like being shown like on his bad side. It looks green, which
it's like that periodically throughout the panels.
Yeah,
because he like goes to cover his face, so it burns his hand.
That's right. Too. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So that's it for the thing. I mean, it's basically he's reading it in like a dark and gloomy like.
Man, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
I'll be very brief about it because I love this splash page. Like, so obviously he's obscuring his own face with his hand. He's like holding his trench coat up over his face, but the desk alone, it's got all these like cool golden age horror movie things. It's got like an atame, like a sacrificial dagger. It's got the pen, the quill pen, and the inkwell. It's got like a half melted candle with a skull next to it and like cobwebs all over.
I
And
just noticed the skull.
it's obscured in shadow. Half
Yeah.
of it is obscured in shadow, just like his
right.
face.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. And then even like his chair, like it's one of those really high back, like gothic looking chairs.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so let me read the splash page or the whatever we call these things.
I've been calling them blurbs.
Blurb,
I'm
yeah,
too lazy to
the
look up
blurb.
what they're actually called because I don't care.
Have you ever tossed a coin to decide something, settle a problem about which? Let me start that over. Have you ever tossed a coin to determine something, settle a problem about which you couldn't make up your mind? Remember how eagerly you watched to see which side won, heads or tails? Of course, you wouldn't stake a life on the flip of a coin, but how about a man who staked his soul, his very actions on the spinning of a silver coin? Because he was like that coin itself. He too had two sides as distinct as night and day, as good and evil. Meet the most bizarre criminal of all time, a 20th century Jekyll and Hyde, in The Crimes of Two-Face.
Dun, dun, dun. I really love Two-Face.
Yeah.
I've always like conflicted as to who I like more, Joker or Two-Face.
Yeah, Joker, you can get wild and crazy with it, but Two-Face you can get more grounded and have more personal stories.
I think Joker is weirdly predictable, even though he's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Because he's so crazy. He always goes to the same extreme. Whereas Two-Face, you don't even know. Like, you never know which side you're getting. And even Joker has been, he's admitted to being afraid of Two-Face in a couple of specific Batman issues because he doesn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
You can't predict him like he can everybody else.
I like that.
And he has actual brain damage. There's something there that makes him unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
All right, good luck reading the synopsis. Sorry if I made any mistakes.
All good. I'm going to try my best.
Okay.
It's the beginning of the trial for gang boss Maroney, who is being tried by the handsome district attorney, Harvey Apollo Kent. Like how I threw that in there?
Yeah.
Harvey calls Batman to the witness stand to testify. Batman states that Maroney shot Bookie Benson, and Harvey unveils Maroney's lucky two-headed silver dollar with Maroney's prints left at the scene. Also, he's touching it bare-handed.
Yeah, he should have had it in a little baggie, but whatever.
Maroney gets angry and throws a bottle of acid at Harvey's face. Batman tries to stop him and deflects it, but fails, and the acid still strikes one side of his face. Months later, Harvey's doctor removes the bandages and reveals that one side of Harvey's face is now permanently scarred and gruesome. Unfortunately, the only plastic surgeon in the world who could help him is located in Europe and has been put into a concentration camp by Nazis. That sucks.
Yeah, that's not something they really keep in modern interpretations.
No. People are repulsed by Harvey's appearance. He fears that his fiancée will reject him when she sees him, and his fears prove right as she faints at the very sight. Something inside Harvey snaps. He takes the silver dollar and scars up one side to match the other side of his face. He decides to leave his destiny up to the coin. He flips it, and if it lands the clean side up, he'd wait to use the plastic surgeon until he was freed and get his face fixed.
Sorry about that.
If it lands scarred side up, he's going to devote his life to crime. Of course, it lands scarred side up, and crime wins. Harvey Dent spends his days devoted to a new life. Every day he flips the coin. If it lands good heads, he does a good deed. If it lands bad heads, he does a crime. It's a little bit well, I'll get into that later.
Yeah.
One morning, Harvey gets his goons to dress up as bus drivers and firemen and plots to take the fares of bus passengers. Batman and Robin are out on patrol and spot this and swoop in. They jump on the bus and kick off one of the goons. Harvey pulls a gun on Batman, and Batman can't believe what he's seeing. Batman's surrounded and thrown off. A goon tries to shoot Robin, but he misses and hits the bus driver. The bus is about to crash when Robin jumps in and pulls the emergency brake, saving everyone. Harvey returns to brood in his lair. His goons return, and he explains the accident. Harvey decides to leave the goon's fate to the coin. Bad heads. Harvey kills the goon and disposes of his body. Batman eventually finds the body and a map to the theater stuck to his shoe with some gum. Batman and Robin run to the theater to stop Harvey's plan. A screening of the new Superman movie is interrupted by Harvey being projected onto the screen, announcing a holdup. His goons come out into the audience and start holding everybody at gunpoint and collecting money. Batman swings in and attacks Harvey's goons. Harvey jumps out of the audience himself and then runs out of the theater. Batman makes chase. They eventually make it back to Harvey's apartment. Harvey pulls out his gun and decides to leave Batman's fate up to the coin. He flips it and it lands on the floor, standing completely on its edge, neither the good side or the bad side. Neither man can believe it. Batman tells him to flip it again, but Harvey can't. It's fate. He must now decide what to do with his own life. To be continued. I love that it says to be continued because, like, this is one of the first stories where they're literally like, stay tuned, folks. Next time we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this is the first two-parter we've had.
Of course, it's a two-parter because it's Two-Face.
And it's Two-Face.
Yeah.
And that's actually something I was surprised was part of, like, his, like, origin in the beginning, his obsession with duality and two.
Yeah.
Like, I knew duality would be a thing, but, like, I always kind of thought that the two obsession specifically, making everything in twos, was something they did, like, later on when it got, like, sillier. No, that was, like, there from the very beginning.
Well, it's there. I don't want to spoiler alert for all you people listening who haven't read a lot of Batman comics. This is the first iteration of Two-Face, but there's two other iterations of Two-Face until they get to like the classic Harvey Dent version. And this one loves twos. The next one doesn't really necessarily, but he's just got the whole like split personality thing. And then like you have the animated series adaptation that loves the twos and has the split personality. This one doesn't really have a split personality.
No,
he's still the same cold, ruthless killer, but when the good side of the coin comes up, he commits the crime and then like donates the money to charity or gives it to a good cause. But he still commits the crime and he still kills people. He just gives the money away.
Yeah, like I liked that. That is like it's not really about the money for him. It's just about like he's just like, okay, this is my fate now. He's all about fate,
right?
And at this point, he doesn't care what he does. It's kind of a way for him to rationalize that, you know, I'm not doing this. It's fate. The coin flipped. I'm supposed to do what the coin does.
Yeah, he very much feels like he could be in control if he wanted to, but he's letting the coin dictate all of his actions. But he's still of like a sane state of mind.
Yeah,
right? It doesn't feel like he's got that damage that the Harvey from the animated series has, where he's got like split personalities.
Yeah,
it just feels like one personality.
What was it? The split personality? Something Harv?
Big Bad Harv.
Big Bad Harv. Yeah,
Big Bad Harv. I love Big Bad Harv.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that one was a way of like just kind of almost like Scarface, where it just kind of like it lives on and he gets to have it openly just be Big Bad Harv doing some of the stuff.
Yeah,
and this one he's leaving it to fate more.
I love this issue a lot. I do think the animated series adaptation is way more compelling because he has a split personality. It's like repressed anger from childhood and all that.
Yeah,
that's way more compelling. It makes him more human and also less human.
Yeah, and it makes it more tragic too, since it's something he's like putting. You know, he spent so much time, you know, putting away so he can advance his career and his life and know his love life with his can't remember what his fiance. I can't remember what her name was, but and then just ends in tragedy.
Yep. All the best Batman villains they're tragic villains, which is why they're so good because you can feel bad for them to some degree.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, I mean, especially the friendship. It ended the friendship. So,
Yep. Oh, this one? First appearance of Superman in a Batman comic.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Although it's a movie, a Superman movie, so it hasn't been fully explained that they coexist like together, just that like Superman is a character within the Batman comics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but I mean, we have had, it's been a few years within the comics, but they have mentioned Metropolis Asylum.
Right. They mentioned Metropolis.
Yeah, so I think it's just an instance where like, hey, you know, you're in real life and there's a man who can fly around and withstand bullets.
Right.
They're going to make movies about him, you know, so.
Yeah.
I
was searching that audience for the silhouette that looked like Lois Lane and Clark Kent. No luck.
Nope. Nah, damn.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. I feel like they would totally go to the premiere of the Superman movie.
I don't know. I bet Clark would be like, I don't know, Lois. Seems kind of cheesy to me.
Yep. I know. I was hoping for some other little like cameo like that, but just seeing him on the screen is good enough. And he's drawn really freaking well.
He is, yeah. I wonder if it's like their first time. I'm sure they've like all drawn each other's characters, but
yeah.
Yeah, it must have been nice for them to be like, oh, let's do Superman. What else? I didn't put down my thoughts just because I knew they were like more stream conscious, but I think we've hit a lot of the bullet points.
Yeah, I think we just addressed them all like before we said that.
Yeah.
Like the differences between how he is here and how he becomes later. It's not that much of a difference. It's actually very subtle. But the key aspects of his origin are spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Even like the element of him being friends with Batman / Bruce Wayne, it's there.
Yeah.
It's just not exactly how you would expect it to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or
Yeah.
as like well developed, because these are old comics. They don't spend a lot of time
No.
developing that type of stuff.
Yeah, it just kind of organically happens throughout the years.
Yeah, as writing gets better and as comic books become more of an art form and less of like a thing for kids to read and throw away,
Mm-hmm.
like that's when you get that stuff. I think like the 70s, late 60s, early 70s is when they really start getting into like the psychological aspect and stuff.
Yeah. Well, by that time, you have the kids who grew up reading this.
Right.
Now they're the ones
They're
reading
idolizing
it
and they're intellectualizing it.
Yeah, they're the ones. Now they're the ones making the comics.
Yeah.
So
And it makes a lot of sense. Like if you grew up reading these, you filled a lot of the blanks in with your imagination and you created a lot of connections where they weren't there. Because I know I did that reading comics,
Yeah.
which is why comic books are the way they are now. Because you have the people who grew up reading the books that we read
Yeah.
and watching the animated series, connecting those dots that didn't exist and like infusing all those elements together. It's where you get the stuff like Court of Owls,
yeah,
So it's cool. And comics will always do that, which is why the medium is so interesting.
yeah. It's a very, very fluid industry.
Yeah.
So do you want to get into the panels?
Yeah, this first panel, obviously it's badass to the
Mhm.
max, but it's also the cover of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde book that he's reading on the splash
Yeah,
page.
yeah. Look very similar.
Yeah, it's just a close up of his face split down the middle, staring straight at you and talking about how his face is divided into beauty and ugliness,
Mhm.
queer and frightening.
Yeah, they went with like the green look for him, so he looks
I
very.
love the green.
Yeah, it looks very zombie-like almost.
Yeah. It's like the Frankenstein monster,
Mhm.
I think that they were going for that Frankenstein monster color on purpose, because he's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah,
And like the Hulk was also Frankenstein's monster and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And he's
Mhm.
also green,
yeah,
so I think that was on purpose. And also it looks very much like the one from the animated series. The only thing that they did differently is like his hair's not just colored from the acid.
yeah.
But his hair's crazy on one side and nice on the other. He's got the
Mhm.
nice square jaw. He's got the crazy eyebrow and the big googly eye, and he's got the like sneering grin with his teeth exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Spot on.
Yep.
They just changed the color a little bit for the cartoon. And I do like the way he looks in the animated series a lot. Like
Yeah.
the red lips and the teal skin.
Yeah,
It's just-
that like very just the dead skin.
yeah.
That's really cool.
I picked the next. I mean, you probably would have picked these, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I put up most of these in here off the bat. But
There's a couple I forgot to put in here, so like I just took a screenshot. But
this is
we
just
know.
like any of those Joker issues. You could put like the whole book in here. Like
Mhm.
it's all good, but there's some that really stand out.
Yeah, this one's more about Harvey than it is Batman and Robin.
Yeah. I love this next panel where he's like shaking his fiance and he's like, look at my repulsive face. And she's like, no, I can't bear it. It's very opposite from like the way that you would perceive it from watching the cartoon where he's like terrified to show her his face and they play it off like a horror movie where as he like turns his face, she's like, oh no.
Yeah,
Here he's like, look at me.
yeah. This Harvey Dent, like I mean, they've done Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but like if they were to have done a character like just like his own like movie back then,
Yeah,
he would have been like a shoe-in. Like
for sure.
he could have carried his own comic back then, like if they wanted to do like a one just based on a villain.
Yeah, I would love that. I have a couple Two-Face standalone stories. They're all really good.
Yeah.
But another thing I thought was cool here, like they're using the Apollo thing incorrectly. Like he's not called Apollo because he's like beautiful. I mean, Apollo is beautiful, but he's called Apollo because he's like Mr. Perfect, right?
Mhm.
Like he's beautiful and he's good at what he does, and he's like this upstanding citizen. He's this white knight, right?
Yeah.
But they're playing it off more for just like the beauty element. And his fiance apparently like makes multiple sculptures of his face because she thinks he's so beautiful.
Yeah.
He's got multiple sculptures, busts with his name on it
Mhm.
around his apartment.
Yeah, that makes it out to seem that the relationship is a little more superficial,
Yeah.
which I'm hoping. I haven't read part 2 yet, so I know you've probably read it back in the past.
I read it before. I know what happens, but
Okay.
I'm waiting to reread it till
Yeah,
right before we do it.
I'm hoping that she comes back. I hope there's more tragedy to it than I think any reasonable person would have probably had her reaction at first.
Yeah.
But I think what drives probably the tragedy more is that she probably got up. I'm guessing she probably got up and when she came to and wanted to make amends, not amends, but
Yeah.
still she never like said I hate you, go away.
Right.
So I think maybe Harvey just kind of assumed that she broke it up with him and went on to crime, or if he just calmed down,
Yeah.
Like,
if I wrote this or drew this, or if it were written nowadays, when she woke up, she would like look around her apartment and she would see all those busts of his face that he just like carved up,
yeah,
which would be pretty disturbing. Even if she woke up and felt bad and was like, I need to talk to him. And as soon as you look around and see like all these beautiful statues he created and he's just like taken a knife and just carved them all to hell, I think you'd be like, yeah, there's something deeper going on.
yeah. Let's see. So the next panel, it's the one where he's scarring up the face. What is he using? An ice pick?
He's using a knife. It's that
That's a
knife
knife?
that's on
Oh.
his desk in the openings. panel.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a double-sided like sacrificial dagger.
Yeah, he's holding it in a very precarious manner.
Yeah, it's definitely that's not an easy thing to do, but that coin is gigantic. So
Yeah.
I like that it's like oversized. It fits in the palm of his hand, but it takes up like his whole entire palm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a huge coin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, I love how much he puts himself down. You know,
Yeah.
constantly he's like, one side is ugly like mine. I'm so ugly. Like
Yeah,
he's very one note about it, but I love it.
it's definitely what else, like, part of the tragedy is that he's, he himself, that's how he views himself now too.
He's ugly,
Yep.
disfigured, gruesome.
So it looks like you chose this one of Batman and Robin diving.
It's great. I just love
Yeah.
it. It's the only like really standout Batman and Robin panel in this whole issue because it all centers around Two-Face and Harvey.
Yeah, well, I think my last panel here was like more like the Batman crown and crop, but it's got all three of them in it.
Yeah, there was 3 panels of Batman that I really liked,
Yeah.
and they're all in here. I picked all 3.
Your next one, you chose this one. I forgot. I like clipped it, but I didn't I forgot to insert it. Of Harvey's lair.
I freaking love this one.
Yeah.
Not only because it shows his duality, because he's blacked out one half of the window. Like the whole apartment is split perfectly down the middle, right? Like
Yeah.
the part that's clean, it's got like a nice like bearskin rug, and there's like a mirror on the wall, and there's some beautiful portrait and a fireplace. And then the part that's dirty, it's cast completely in shadow because he's blacked out and broken a bunch of the windows. It's like every bit of carpet is burnt, all the furniture is cracked and stabbed. And he definitely like took a knife and just like shredded that painting on the wall. Like
Yeah.
everything is just torn to hell. And I love this one a lot. I mean, it's the same way in the one you're pointing out right here.
Yeah.
But he's walking, they catch him like mid stride in the panel, and it's like he's split right down the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, the other one I chose, I like this one a bit better. It's a little more detailed, but yours is
It's
like
a
more-
close up, yeah.
Yeah, it's more close up, but it's just like the center. He's sitting at a desk, and the split his room, directly, in half between the nice, beautiful side and the scarred, ugly side. It definitely takes a lot of effort to just make it look like the apartment look all dingy and crappy.
It's like he
all
set
one
half
side.
it on fire or
Yeah.
something.
It reminds me of Batman Forever. I was thinking of Batman Forever a lot in this.
Yeah. No,
He's got a room very similar to this.
yeah, it's way more like glammed up in that movie.
Yeah, that
but
one just like a
put a lot
black
of
and
effort into
white, like a stark black and white.
that one, like his dark side is all like into like S&M, and it's like black and leather
Yeah.
and red and just like, and then his other side is like real calm and clean and white and
Yeah, they played it up with him having like the bimbos there too.
yeah.
Like not so much in this one, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are the chances that both sides of his personality are into bimbos?
After that, you chose the one where he's about to flip to shoot his goon.
Yeah, I like the big bad Harv.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like whenever he's like pure evil. And also, this is a good shot where you see both his green hand and the green side of his face, and it's a close up basically of the green side of his face.
Yeah.
So you can see like the grimace, like how his lips are all pulled up, and he's holding the coin all threateningly, and he's just like, "You lose."
Yeah, that's gotta be frightening.
Oh yeah, I'd be terrified.
Oof.
Like he's not gonna let you win. The coin says you die, you're dying.
You're gone. After that is the theater Superman, just his very first appearance within a Batman comic, which is very cool. Something I want to cover eventually in the show is the very first appearance of Batman the very first appearance of Batman and Robin in outside of a Batman comic.
That would be the radio broadcast.
Well, I mean, within the comics, like
Oh.
what comic? Somebody on Twitter answered it for me. I forgot who answered it. Apologies. But I think it was like in Superman issue number 9. Bruce and Dick make a cameo.
Oh, like they're just in there.
They're just in there, so that's basically what I want to know. It's just like first time they're like they just show up as just
Yeah,
in a comic that isn't specifically meant to be a Batman comic.
For a minute, I thought that was Lois Lane, like right smack dab in the middle, underneath Superman's knee, because
With
she's
the
got like,
bow?
the bow in her hair, like,
Yeah.
like in the Max Fleischer stuff.
Mhm.
But then I was like, well, where is everybody else that you would recognize? So there's no way that's who that is.
Yeah.
But there's like a good little cameo right there because it's like him flying towards the castle and there's like a lightning bolt coming out of it.
Mhm.
So it is like that mad scientist Max Fleischer style stuff.
Yeah.
And then he's saying, "This is a job for Superman."
And those were airing on time during the time too.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely what they're going for.
So
and this is the latest Superman, so you know it's like a serial, not just a movie.
yeah. So after that, next one you chose.
This one's great.
Yeah.
How could you not pick this one? This looks like something straight out of Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, you got to one before I did.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I figured you would have picked basically all the same ones I picked.
Yeah.
I don't even like, regardless of what they're saying here, except for what Harvey's saying, because he just got back home to his lair after the whole like theater debacle thing,
Mm-hmm.
and Batman's just like already there, and he's like, "Batman, how?" But Batman is just like looming over him, like, and his shadow is completely covering Harvey.
Yeah.
And he's like this big terrifying force. I just wish his ears looked better. I love the way his ears are drawn like that, but they don't make any sense with the shadow.
Yeah, they don't. So before we get to my final panel, there's another one I chose. It's the one where he flipped the coin to decide his fate.
It's so good.
I just really like it. He flipped it, and he's just yelling, "Crime wins!" Like all diabolical and
Yeah,
maniacal.
maniacal.
Yeah, that's a good one. But the last one I chose, I could have done any of them, but I think this one's the best one. Is at the theater where Harvey is showing his face on the screen, and he's
I
like,
freaking love this one.
he made a film to tell everybody they're getting,
Yeah,
robbed, and
it makes sense that he would have to make a film though. Like,
Yeah.
you can't just project your face onto a screen.
yeah, it really reminded me of Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah,
That final like glorious scene in the theater. Oh, it's amazing.
yeah, it's a really really good panel for multiple reasons. Like, obviously, I picked it too.
Yeah.
Because Batman is like silhouetted in a spotlight.
Mhm.
I have expected there to be like a bat symbol on the stage because of the way he's like swinging.
Yeah.
But he's not swinging with his cape out like the way he does now. He's got like a side profile, so he really
Yeah.
does look like a bat, actually.
And I didn't show it or put it in the synopsis, but Robin is in the projection booth
Yeah,
because there was a goon there. He took him out, and then he's pointing the spotlight
Right.
at Superman,
At
at Batman.
yeah,
Yeah.
But also like the way that the theater's drawn, there's a lot of effort put into it. It looks like the theater from Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
It has like the big balcony box seats.
Yeah.
And like, oh man,
It's a gorgeous theater.
it is. And I love how, like, obviously, like, they're projecting the video of like Two-Face onto the wall.
Mhm.
He's threatening the whole audience. Like, you're so focused on the giant Two-Face image that you don't really expect him to pop out of the audience with a gun.
No.
That he's there all along.
No. So when the episode or when the issue ended, I was like, "Oh, can't wait! Next time we'll get to do the two-parter,
Mhm.
the second part." But it's an October issue. This is the cover the cover date is August.
Yeah.
So we got a couple months before they're gonna reveal the second part of this, which is kind of a brilliant plan on their end.
Yep.
Yep. So brings us to next time. We got Batman number 9, The Case of the Lucky Lawbreakers, and Detective Comics 67, Crime's Early Bird.
Did you look at either of these splash pages?
I know that Crime's Early Bird is a Penguin story.
And the case of the Lucky Lawbreakers is a Joker story.
Oh, perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
who do you want?
Oh, I'll take either one. You know
Okay.
the Joker. That splash page.
You know
wait
what?
Look at the splash page first, and I'll let you pick.
We'll flip a coin.
Okay.
All right. So that wraps it up for this episode of Become a Bat. Thank you so much for listening.
Peace.
Have a good night.
There you go, Bruce.
Thanks, Mr. Trent. You know, as a kid, I used to watch it with my father. The Gray Ghost was my hero.
Really?
And he still is.